Hello, my dears. How are you this evening? All is well here. This is Resilient Lives, beaming some love and energy your way. Just wanted to check in on you and see how everything is going in your life. It has been a nice day here. And so I know lots of things are happening, but today has blown by. And I just wanted to make sure you heard from me. It is important to send a little love to those we care about. Today, I think I mentioned yesterday, yesterday was a day of celebration for me, and we had a terrible storm. And today, I realized the impact of the storm. And so I just wanted to mention it, because I hadn't really been aware of all of the impact. I knew while it was going on, all the power and some things have not come on. But I was just thinking about this storm, this tornado. We had it touch down in a couple of places not too far from here. And people have lost powers, but it was one of those things that happened so suddenly, which interesting is what we've been talking about during this pandemic. It seems ironic to have a storm when you're already in a storm, or to have a storm when you're in a number of storms. We are in the pandemic, and we're in this racial pandemic where lots of things are happening. But sometimes, we're in a storm and we don't realize afterwards what the total impact was. And so I was thinking about today what nature teaches us, the lessons that nature teaches us. I decided that I would take a ride over to the Arboretum. I drove over there, and I was prepared to have my solitude time. And I got there, and I was just driving through. They didn't say at the entrance gate they didn't give me any heads up. And as I drove to one side, the road was closed. And I had to exit and re-enter. And as I attempted to go to the other side, the road was closed. It would have been nice if they had said that. But the roads were closed because trees had fell. And trees had fallen on streets even on my way back home. I mean, huge trees. So it caused all of these detours and changes. And as I was thinking about it, I got home and I thought, if we pay attention to nature, nature teaches us quite a few things if we're open, if we're listening. And the thing that the storm taught, and I probably learned it after the fact, which happens often, because sometimes you don't realize you're in a storm. I think we realize that we're in this pandemic because we're still observing protocol, even though we're out in some areas, we're out of the worst part. But so when a storm comes up, we don't know. And so I kind of waited. Well, do I really want to go downstairs? So there are protocols that we do, and those protocols keep us from panicking. They help us to already have a plan in action, and to do it. It would be good to not only have a plan, but to use the plan, because having it and not doing it is like not having it at all, right? And so, but what we don't often realize is the aftermath of a storm. So that's what I want to just mention tonight, is the aftermath of the storm, because often in the mental and physical and emotional storm, or the impacts anyway, they're not seen, but they're there. And it really would be wonderful if we had something in place to help us to deal with the aftermath of a storm. And this is why we've been talking about thriving and flourishing, because we're going to come out of this storm, and we know that we have already been changed, and we are kind of guesstimating that things will never be the same. And so what is it that we have to be aware of? Will our ways of thinking and perceiving things, it's like you never quite go back to beginner mind. The first time craziness happens in your life, you're shocked and hurt, and but the next time you remember that feeling. And so what will we look forward to when this is all over? This meaning the pandemic and all of this. We'll never be the same. We'll have scars and tears and sadness and joys. Hopefully joys of thriving and still having our support system in place. But we'll have scars and that possibly could be reopened. And so I'm just looking at what nature teaches us about life. When we have been on stable ground, then everything has been going along fine. But when you get to a point where you've lost loved ones, or you lost your job, or you've lost the stability, you've lost everything that you stand on, and sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes we're fortunate it doesn't take a while, but you have a memory of that happening. And so I would suggest that when we go to our solitude moments, and when we go to our whatever it is that we do to refuel ourselves, that we give some thought to how we are being impacted by all the storms that are happening in our lives. It just doesn't seem like one thing happens at a time. It's not like all the problems are waiting in line. Okay, now my turn. Sometimes we get them all at the same time, layer upon layer. But that's why we have each other. That's why I'm sending you a little love, a little energy, and I'm receiving it back. And I just want you to know that we love you, and we are going through these storms in life together, and we're developing a plan. When this happens, what do I do? How do I prepare my mind for this? How do I structure my life? What calms me? All those things you'd have to determine for yourself, because we probably all react a little differently. Some people might get a little anxious and show it, and some people might not show it and still be anxious. So, but know yourself, and listen to what nature is teaching us, that storms come up and they can be really terrible. I mean, one of the storms tore the steeple off of the church, and the pastor said, well, this will be a bonding time when we come back together, to do that. So is a storm a bonding time? We had a friend who was afraid of storms, and we would invite her over, because together is healing. And so trust yourself. Think about, in your solitude, what are the things that I would employ to handle the storms in my life, because we know that they are coming. It's all part of life. But we must go on. We must continue on this journey. And so have a good evening. And remember, the storms and nature teaches us how to handle life. So just be still and observe nature. And until I talk to you another time, know that I love you. I'm sending you virtual hugs. Good night.